And here is the bottom line tonight. Of course, it is a Monday evening, and when it's Monday evening, 8 p.m., we come live on your screens with the best of business analysis across the length and breadth of the country. Everything that's happening in the space of economic development and business here in the country, you will find it here right on the bottom line. With me, Kwesi Efrie. Let me welcome you to our show tonight, and let me state clearly that we are still discussing issues around the economy, the free fall of the city. We'll be talking about the exchange rate. We'll be talking about fuel prices. We'll be talking about the economic hardships. And the question we are asking tonight is there a way out for us as a country? The Ghana Union of Traders Association has accused the government of having a hand in the free fall of the city, and calling it as a way government is trying to use to find, or means government is trying to use to devalue our currency. We'll be looking into that. What are the ways and measures out that we can come out of this mess that we are in as a country? The exchange rate, depreciation, and so on and so forth. What are the measures to put in place? Issues surrounding the banking industry and how the role they can play in ensuring that our city stabilizes. These and many other things are the things we want to discuss tonight. You want to stick and stay with us tonight. I'll have very seasoned guests in the space of the economy tonight to be speaking to. And you can send us your comments via our Facebook page, via WhatsApp numbers that we are putting on the screen. What do you think should be made of the economy? I think if I have enough time, I will be able to open up the phone lines in the course of the discussion. But for now, our numbers will be scrolling on the screen. You want to put up your messages to us, and I'll try as much as possible to read them for you. So check out for the number, WhatsApp number on the screen, and send in your messages when the discussions begin. It is about the economy and what you think can be made to revive the economy. Stick and stay with me. I'll be right back. This is still the bottom line, and let me humbly welcome you back to or from the break. And let me also state in reminding you that tonight we are discussing the economy and the way out, the free fall of the city, the economic hardships that we are in. And we are asking you out there to also send us your concern on what you think should be the solution, where the solution actually is the solution internal or external. Lots of blame have been laid at the doorstep of the Russian-Ukrainian war and, of course, COVID-19 pandemic. But shouldn't we be coming out of it by now? These are the questions that we are putting across to our guests tonight. Guta is threatening a demonstration on Monday. We'll be getting the details of that as we have the leadership of Guta here in the studio already. So you want to stick and stay with us. However, in all of this, the Minister of Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, has been speaking. We want to quickly listen to him and giving some reasons. You remember that he had laid out some points, I think about 5 or 6, on how government is trying to revamp the economy. And that is when the rating, we were downgraded by a credit rating agency. We have had that of Fitch and some other agencies as well. So let's take a quick listen from the Minister of Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. When we come back, we'll get straight into our discussions for tonight. Stay with us.
Our challenge with the currency is that as a country, do not export and repatriate enough dollar into the Ghanaian economy. We don't export enough and repatriate enough dollars into the Ghanaian economy. Very often, it has been when the fiscal policy managers go and borrow dollar as part of our financing program that you find that Ghana receives forex. That, in addition to a number of reasons that the Bank of Ghana has put out, have culminated in a situation where this year, because of the downgrades we have suffered, for which reason we cannot access the international capital markets, what is happening is that the inflow of forex is limited, and therefore the extraordinary demand by the stronger dollar and by the import pressures of our country in addition to the repatriation of funds by investors, etc., as a result of what's happening globally, has led to a cedi that has depreciated pretty quickly. The Bank of Ghana introduced a number of measures in the short term to deal with it. And on the back of that, in fact, I think this morning the president was briefed that the $750 million that we were expecting, now all the paperwork has been concluded and should be hitting our accounts perhaps maybe today or tomorrow. That was a brief that the president was given this morning. So if I were you and I was holding on to dollar, I'll be selling it by now, because there's a lot more dollar coming in from the 750 and then also from the cocoa syndicated loan of about 1.3. That comes together to about $2 billion hitting the Ghanaian economy in the very, very, very short run. And our expectation is that it would lead to a quick stabilization. But there's also a lot of work that the Bank of Ghana is been doing, supported by the broader economic policy managers aimed at addressing the fundamental issue, which is ensuring that we export more, get the dollars back into the Ghanaian economy as against what we import. And we need to cut down on our import bills significantly. We are importing $400 and $600 million of chicken. We're importing so much of rice, so much of fruit juices. So there needs to be clarity on what we need to do to tone down on those imports and export some more.
Right, you're welcome back from the break. The discussions have begun in here already, but let me quickly introduce my guest to you, and let me start from Zoom. I have Nana Utu Echampon, who is a banking consultant on Zoom. Nana, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us, if you can hear me. Nana, can you kindly unmute your mic for me? Right, so whilst we get Nana to unmute his mic and for us to welcome him again, let me introduce you to my extreme left, Mr. Benjamin Yabua, who is Director of Welfare for the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, my brother.
I hope you're doing very well.
Well, I'm well. Business is not well.
I'll come and start with you, but let me come to our very beautiful lady, Doris Ahiate, is a fellow at the Chartered Institute of Bankers, and we are happy to have her here tonight because most of the discussions, you have the industry laying the blame at the door of the banking sector, you have them defending themselves here and there and so on and so forth. But it's exciting to have Doris Ahiate here in the studio tonight. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
I hope you're doing well.
Very well, thank you.
And I hope we'll get some answers on the numerous blames that come to the banking sector on how you can support us manage the economy, but for the purposes of profit making and so on and so forth. But I'll come to you. Let me run to Ben and begin with him. You are going on demonstration on Monday.
Well, thank you so much.
Is the case? Yes.
And good evening to your cherished audience. The point is, if you quite remember, about 3 weeks ago, we had a press statement out. Now, at that time, we were actually, trying to let government and the public know that all is not well with business. But the dollar, as against the cedi has fallen to close to about 9 cedis, 20 pesos then. When it was about 6 cedis, 40 pesos, around in December 2021, roughly almost about 40% depreciation. And we thought at the rate at which it was depreciating, it wasn't good for business. In fact, we were even more worried because around August, this time, this is the best time that businesses, those who usually import, this is the best time that they have to start speaking to their suppliers, start making arrangements to get goods in. So definitely you have to be changing some money, dollars to try and engage your suppliers if you have to pay certain things upfront. And the benchmark we're using at that time in terms of the cedi to the dollar was 9 cedi, 20 pesos. And we're telling government that the rate at which it was going down, it makes speculations set in. Because then, the business person would have to then begin to calculate to see at the rate of depreciation, what is if by October, November, it depreciates so much, by what percentage? If there's immediate speculation sets in, prices begin to go up. That is the biggest fear. And then, unfortunately, just within about a week and a half, the team depreciates further from about 9 cities, 20% to about 10 cities plus. And that was alarming. That is what pushed us to, have this press conference to tell government that, look, we are always open to sit down with government. And then we look at what the situations are, what they are professing to be the solutions. And then by that, then we all see what best we can all do. Because I heard the Minister for Information, alluding to certain things. But then, what are the solutions to what he's alluding? They are pumping in so much. How much? $750 billion that they... Look, if you don't check the foundation and what is really happening, you bring that money in and it will be siphoned. You would wonder what happened, because then we'll be where we still are. If you are lucky, we can
you
just
are in the
stabilize.
industry. You are the business people. What exactly is happening to the economy?
Well, you said that we are doing excessive importation, which is true. But the point is that what is really going on? Guta, if you check as we and our affiliate bodies, how much are we importing to the country? Roughly around 50% plus in a year. So that 85%, who are those importing? It's not us. It's not big multinational companies, these foreigners who are importing so much into the country. And we wonder what the investment laws are doing to check them. Because if the person is in, let's say, for instance, China, and is bringing in goods into the country, is he having some dollars here that he's going to, change outside and take back to his mother country to bring in further goods? He brings in the goods and then come in, sell, and then use the cities to change the minimal foreign exchange what we have here. And they don't really care, because then they can even change it. If it's even up to 11 cities, they will change it. You see?
So you think the measures government is laying in place are not effective or will not be effective enough?
Point is, that's where you sit and talk. Then you tell us, then we tell you that, look, if you don't check the root cause by checking those that are bringing in...
But as an association as big as Guta, you haven't engaged government. You haven't told government the problems and challenges you are facing as an institution.
3 weeks ago, we're telling them in our press statements.
Through press statement, you don't want to sit with the finance minister? You don't want to sit with the Bank of Ghana?
Sent a letter to the trade ministry to see that, because we had seen certain things. We are still waiting to be caught. See the point? This foreigners issue, and we keep on pointing, because if you don't check those investment laws vis-a-vis foreigners that are coming to do your business, do business here, you don't check them to see if you are pushing them to industries that will help you, the manufacturing industry, the agricultural industry. If you are not pushing them there, and you just look on for them to come in, they come in the guise of manufacturers, and then they change overnight to be importers. What are we doing? How are we checking it? What is the monitoring system? Either from GIPC or Ministry of Trade. How are we checking them? You see, if you don't do that, we'll be playing around this problem. We have been on this road before. In 2015, we were on this road. It's like a bad dream.
And you locked up. You
remember?
You locked up companies. You locked up companies that are trading here.
It's like a bad dream.
Even last year you did it.
Like a bad dream. You just wake up and say, "Oh, this was a bad dream. I don't want to have this bad dream again." And then here we are. Behold, we are having that bad dream again. It's because are we really sitting down to check and then looking at short, long, and medium and long term, and to really, really address it?
I'll come back to you again, but let me go on line to talk to Nana Otio Champon, who is a banking consultant, before I come to Dr. here, or Doris here. But Nana, if you can hear me, and if your mic is unmuted now, I want to ask a layman's question. What exactly is happening to the economy? We just said the Minister of Information line up a number of activities. And of course, when the credit rating downgrading came to CCC, I think with a negative effect, a CCC/C minus with a negative effect or outlook, there were a number of statements that were made and a number of actions that had been taken by government, which should be cushioning us by now. But we are not seeing that. We are still seeing the city go down. We are still seeing macroeconomic indicators not very stable and so on and so forth. What exactly is happening to us?
Oh, um, in a way, you've laid a foundation in that. Yes, we did have two international agencies downgrading us to triple C, which puts you from an investment grade country into a speculative country, which means you become risky. And the higher your risk, the higher the returns. And therefore, you have the effect on your currency as we have had. On top of that was the rate of inflation also galloping to around 32%. So it was a sort of a double whammy. Then plus that is the speculation coming in where people feel that the little foreign currency we have, they have to struggle and run for it, or else they will not be able to get enough money to pay for their imports. Now, I'm surprised to hear that Guta said they account for only 15% of the import bill that we have in this country.
That's
In a way,
the
it's
local.
good.
He means the local participation of importations that come into the country. If you analyze it well, I don't have the data yet, but if you analyze it well, it is more of these multinational companies rather having a large chunk or a percentage of the imported goods. So of course, they earn the monies over the local investors.
Exactly, but the good thing is that if Guta only accounts for 15%, the remaining 85%, most of which is accounted for by the mining companies, Bank of Ghana has already taken steps to use moral suasion on them to get access to the foreign currency that they earn. Because, the gold that we mine, they are sold in dollars and not in cedis. And so we earn foreign currency there. Then they've got a repatriation agreement where they can repatriate some to Ghana. In some cases, they've got as much as 100% non-repatriation, which means when they export, they can retain 100% of the proceeds there. Now, with these negotiations going on, Bank of Ghana indeed has taken steps to ensure that we get access to the foreign currencies to cater for the imports. The oil section alone says they need about 450 million a month to import oil into the country. So even with the 750 EXIM fund that we are looking up to, plus the 1.3 billion, the Cocoa Board fund, you see that immediately 450 million is gone into importing oil to oil the wheels of development or economic activity in the country. So when you put all those together, yes, we are down, but we are not out. And therefore, the appeal to the likes of Guta is to have a little bit patience, because I don't think we are the 10, 11 forever. It's a temporary blip, and sooner or later.
Nana, on that point, we expected that when the MPC committee reviewed the basis points to 19%, we were expecting that the inflation rate would have stabilized a bit. It didn't happen. You have held an emergency meeting, and now to 22%, 300 basis points, and we are still seeing these actions in place. Does it not call for Guta to still panic?
No, they shouldn't panic. They should rather, calm down, because I don't think, for instance, the Monday action is going to do much. Already, they've spoken enough, and although I'm not part of government, but I think government has heard them, and therefore, this one-day strike, although they are exercising their constitutional right, is not something that will force the rate down. Now, what I feel should force the rate down is what Bank of Ghana is trying to do to put in place measures. For instance, the rules and regulations regarding forest activities are well laid out. But then some of our own forest bureaus have been flouting the rules, and it has been causing mayhem.
I
And
will,
secondly,
I will kindly indulge me. I will come to that particular one, especially with the operations of the black markets and the dealings and the operations between them and you politicians, or let me not even call you a politician, and politicians generally, and bankers and people that are supposed to protect the economy. But let me come to you, Doris.
Okay.
From the banking perspective, let me come to still that layman's question again. What is happening to our economy? And is there hope for us as Ghanaians?
Let me start by saying that if you ask if there is hope, yes, definitely there is hope because we have life and there is a lot of choices and changes that we can bring about once we have life. What is happening to our economy? I think we have different actors and players together in the economy that have together brought us to a stage where we all are going through quite some difficulties and discomforts. And responding for the sake of the layman, I would like to start from a situation where the health of any economy is measured by the level of employment, for example.
Right.
So you want to see how many people have access to decent jobs. And so currently you look in the system and you look at the quality of jobs people have, how much they are earning. One of my businesses had to lose staff, for example, and we are a very small setup. So I can already begin to think about other setups where they've had to let go more staff. So we are talking about the level of employment being impacted and therefore, along with it, people's source of livelihoods. Then we have the consumer price index or the measure for inflation,
Right.
which also tells the ease with which you are able to afford what you need to spend money on. And you see that inflation has been galloping over the recent months. And therefore, with your meager salary and profits from the market, it's becoming more and more difficult for you to access those things that you need on a monthly basis for your livelihood. And then we have the Forex one, which you mentioned that we are going to tackle in just a little bit. And underscoring all these developments that we see in the economy may be, one, the lifestyle of the people. So I won't only lay it at the doorstep of the government or the monetary authorities, but I want to start with the citizens and our role. We are a country that imports almost everything that we need for our livelihood. You look at our breakfast, recent conversations we've been having, breakfast has bacon, which is imported, baked beans, which is imported, and cereals, a lot of things that we don't produce is what we are having for breakfast. Now you come to even the clothing we wear, we decided to have Friday wear. So it's only on Fridays
that we do the Friday wear.
Thank you. So we
And
have
you
to
see
import
all of
suits.
us.
And
My
so we
cameraman
have
is now
all
zooming in.
contributed. We have all contributed by our lifestyle to the
Yes.
situation. Then on the fiscal side, we have our choice when it comes to prioritization of spending. And I like to say that when you are spending your funds on capital investments that generate a return for you as a country, then you are likely to see some expansion, some growth in the welfare and the well-being of the people. And what we have seen is that because of legacy debt, which we have continued to ramp up year after year, government after government, we find ourselves shackled by the need to service these loans. And so we go look for funding just to pay off the interest on debt which we have
acquired over the years.
not to invest in anything profitable, but to a large extent to pay salaries for public sector and then to service debt. So we are digging ourselves deeper by the year. And I think in the area of fiscal authorities, there is room for more discipline, taking some tough decisions that may hurt in the short term. I like to think about going to IMF And I ask myself, IMF is coming on board, they are bringing a certain amount that we may ask, but is it really, really about that quantum of
money that we need?
No, it's really about the credibility that we derive on the back of the discipline. They hold us accountable. When IMF program is underway, we do nearly all that is required. All the difficult things, all the bitter pills, we swallow them. And so I'm asking myself, without IMF, are we ever able to come to that point where we are accountable enough so that we are taking those right decisions that somehow we manage to abide by when the IMF program is underway, so that we can create a solution that is more sustainable and permanent? Because you don't have IMF. IMF cannot be your big brother forever. They will come for a 2-year, for a 3-year program, and then they are gone, and then the cycle begins again. And then you come to the monetary side, and I think that is where my good friend and senior Nana Otu talks about the initiatives that the Bank of Ghana has rolled out. My view is that when it comes to monetary policy signaling, initiatives taking hold in the economy, it takes, the research shows that sometimes from 18 months before you actually feel its import. And so being able to forecast and anticipate what lies ahead based on the signals that you see, the undercurrents in the market, in the economy today, and taking little calculated actions, ensure that you don't have a crystallization in a significant way of the situation that we presently have. I think that the wait and see may have contributed to an aggravation of the monetary signals that we presently have. Inflation is out of hand. We are way out of our 8 plus or minus 2% band by 3 times over. And so this is a pretty difficult situation. There is a phased solution, which means that what you heard announced 300 is not all happening today. It's going to come in phases, 100 basis points, because if you just roll it all out today, you are going to shock the system. And the impact, remember the lagged effect, may not be very supportive of the growth and recovery that we want to see in the economy. And so, fingers crossed, I believe that better late than never, the Bank of Ghana has made some bold decisions, and we want to see what happens. But definitely don't expect that just with the announcement of 300 basis points hike in MPC rate or in the cash reserve.
We were expecting that at least it would help us keep some amount of repatriated monies in the country. Because people, companies that were repatriating would now think, well, interest rates are going to go up. And so because of that, we are going to keep our monies here and earn more on it. But that's not happening. The dollar is still going up. Our city is still depreciating.
You see, when it comes to investment choices and decisions, we always talk about the time value of money. Time is of the essence when you are talking about your returns.
Right.
And so today you look at what is available and you make the decision that will give you optimal returns. Tomorrow when the dynamics have changed, then you also, but you don't want to hold on to your money. So this is a time when you see people take positions in short-term opportunities as they wait to see the improvements that will happen. For example, today we're expecting that the rate at which the central bank mobilizes its borrowing, the treasury bill rate would begin to signal the direction that the MPR has indicated. But it's week after week of trading before you see this change. Likewise, in the banking system, credit applications that are being processed and being presented won't suddenly go to credit committee with different dynamics because the Monetary Policy Committee announced different rates. It takes time to filter through. And so give it some 3 months.
But do we have a good outlook? I mean, in all of the things you have said, I'm taking 2 major things. And for me, some of the determinants of economic growth, which you have mentioned, employment, inflation, you have mentioned CPI as well, all do not look good for us as a country. Unemployment is high if you look at the rate. Inflation is running as we all know, and the CPI. And
While they may not look good now, like you said, the outlook. Does the outlook look
yes
hopeful? And I like to say yes. Why am I saying yes? I'm saying yes because
here they are complaining, they are crying, they are threatening demonstration. They don't see the lights.
while the situation now doesn't look too good, it's also a time where we, for example, seen a number of Ghanaians try to see how they can begin to contribute to be a solution as opposed to just sitting back and waiting for government and other parties that may be a bit slow in contributing to address the solution. You see a certain rise in entrepreneurship. I have also seen a number of initiatives and programs.
From government on
some of them
entrepreneurship.
from government, some of them from multi-party agencies, multilateral agencies that are working towards building the capacity and providing even the financing to support the private sector to come up with solutions to the job situation, for example. And I believe we still have quite some good arable land when it comes to agric. I'm an advocate for agric. So it's a season where you realize that you can't buy big beans, you can't access foreign currency to buy those things that need to be imported for you. And you begin to think, okay, if I stuck a piece of cassava stick in the sand, will it grow? Will I be able to harvest the cassava and eat it like that? People are beginning to think this way now. And so that's what gives me the hope.
I will come back to whether there should be conscious government efforts in investing in some of these things. I think around 2007 or before 2009, before the advent of oil, everybody was concentrating on agric. Agric was producing or supporting a greater percentage of the economy. But when the oil came in, now the whole concentration for even government is now on oil. But I'll come back to that, and I'll be asking you also finally about the exchange rate and how we'll be able to curtail it. But you have some hope now with what Madam has spoken about.
See, the point is, definitely you should have hope. Like you said, she said, if you have life, there should be hope. So yes, that one is very true.
Yes.
But the point is that, see, hope as in hoping when 3 months, saying 3, we don't have that time. 3 months. Per the rate at which businesses are collapsing, we don't have the luxury of that much time.
So what do you want government to do for Guta now? Yes.
We, Guta, are very much open to dialoguing. It's a very crucial thing. Look, I gave this scenario. It's like someone owing you, call the person is not picking. It's so annoying. But then when you call the person picks and tells you, Charlie, I don't have it. Please, I'm working towards it. I'm trying to. Look, you didn't get the money, but you heard him, and he gave you certain things. Let us see that, and let us see what we can all do. But what is happening now? You see, like you were talking about baked beans and all that. Like we, for instance, Guta, we are not just interested in importing. We're not born to come and import. We buy and sell and make our margins. Anywhere we can get the goods to sell to make our margins, we'll buy and sell. Most of the industries in Ghana, how do they get their goods to the final consumer? It's through us. We buy and sell. So then it beats our imagination. That look, we have over 125 new, some revamped, some are new factories now.
The one district, one factory project.
So, how come we don't have a platform to have a B2B with us and these industries? And you have foreign companies coming through trade ministry, and they call us, and we have B2B with them, business to business. It beats my imagination. What is going on?
That's a question I asked you earlier. Why are you not attacking or tackling the Ministry of Trade on this one?
That is what I said.
Why are you not asking for conscious government efforts to turn you into big businesses, to turn the local businesses into big ones?
To the Trade Ministry, I've been to the 1D1F Secretariat there to inquire what is going on here. We're hoping they will come in and meet us. We've not heard of them, but they will be there. Then you will get an invite, a foreign mission coming to Ghana to have B2B with us to tell us that this is what they have out there. We should come up and buy. What is happening? There's something fundamentally wrong with us. Seriously, you want me to buy? And we tell the industries that if you have the right packaging, right pricing, and they are available, we'll buy. So if you're having problems with whatever that we are talking about, and it's your cost of production, then check it and see what is happening to it, and make sure that something happens to your cost of production, be it utility costs, be it borrowing, because Madam is here, she'll tell you what cost of borrowing now is well over 34% now. You wonder how we can borrow and even make anything out of the loans we take from them. So we should have that conscious effort to sit down, analyze the situation properly, and then we will profess our solutions.
What are your solutions? Those are the ones I want to hear. For example, on the exchange rate, on the dollar rate, that's what you are dealing with. Some of you and your businesses quote in dollars when there are laws and regulations for us to
see.
Quote
that is the problem.
You are quoting in dollars.
What is the money?
The dollar is rising against the city.
What
are your solutions?
Why should anyone quote in dollars? Because if the regulations now is not proper, what is the monitors doing? Who is regulating it? Who is checking?
They should arrest people.
Why not? If the person is not supposed to do that and he's doing that, you should check the person.
But do you report them?
Why should we? Because we have a whole sector. We don't have the security in the system.
But you know them. You know the people that are
look, my brother. Ask Madam, she's here. People would come. People would come and say that they are going to change money.
Yes.
They could go to the bank and see if they have the dollars. But you just walk outside. They're sitting outside there calling you to come and change money. What is happening? Is it legal? Don't we all see them?
And I'll come
Who
back
is
and
checking
ask.
them?
I'm told in Kenya, you cannot just walk across, even
See,
at the
I don't
Forex
know what
Bureau.
is going on.
You cannot walk to the Forex Bureau and change money without your ID card.
Yes.
And that's where I'll come and ask about the foreign exchange. But finally, on that one, are you aware that some other African countries, and I hear, for the purposes of this discussion, Nigeria, for example, come in to buy the dollars and cross our borders with it?
Because we are so loose in whatever.
Do you have that information yet?
It might be so. I wouldn't be surprised.
You don't have concrete
I wouldn't
evidence
be
on that.
surprised at all.
You don't have
because,
concrete
like I was
evidence.
just saying, if we pump in that 750 million, it will be siphoned away. Why do you think they will be siphoned away? Because people see us as so loose.
Let me go to Nana, and then I'll finally come to Madam on the black market issue. But the issues are still rife. The exchange rate, Nana, if you can hear me, we are still here with you. You have spoken about speculation as one of the reasons. In fact, Madam has given different perspectives, the indicators of economic development or growth, if we should be able to analyze whether we are growing or not, and so on and so forth. But the hope is still not there. Government is not sitting down with the industry players to assure them of what you are doing as government.
Well, I think a lot of effort is being put in. But for instance, you asked the Guta people what they have done to address their concerns to government. They said they organized a press conference and issued a statement. But again, he said when they ring, they don't get any response. Before that, what I want to comment on the two issues that came up, both from Doris's submission. On the agri sector, government has taken positive measures to ensure that a lot of emphasis is put on agri through the scheme called GESA. And GESA is the Ghana incentive scheme where they encourage people to go into agri, and any loans granted by the bank is guaranteed up to 75%. So there is a very positive effort put in there to encourage agri sector to go up. Then the Monetary Policy Committee, when they had the extraordinary general meeting, they took two main decisions. One was to increase the interest rates by 3%. And then secondly, to increase the cash reserves of banks by another 3%. The interest rate takes immediate effect, and we will see the event eventual rate through the Ghana reference rate, which will be published by next week. Now, the cash reserve is where they spaced it out over a period of 3 months, where the first month will be 1%, second month the same, and last month 3%. Now, what is the effect of the cash reserves of banks? Unfortunately, it does add a bit to the cost of interest, in that if a bank secures capital of 100 cedis, 85 is what will be available to them. The other 15 will have to be left with the central bank at zero interest rate. So the cost of the money will be based on only 85, which is available to them, but they will have to use 100% in costing. So that costs a little bit. But then that was done because there appeared to have been some excess liquidity in the system, and that is the way of pulling back the excess liquidity to make sure that the system works properly. Now, putting the two together, where we are now is on the recovery stage, in that the actions that have been taken both by government and Bank of Ghana are to ensure that the exchange rate, for instance, is kept in check. And I'm very hopeful that the 10 cedi to the dollar rate will not persist for too long. Sooner rather than later, it should come back to the previous rate of between 7 and 8 cedis to the dollar.
Now, how soon are you expecting this, and by what means?
Well, for instance, the two main planks that the Bank of Ghana has, made public: the EXIM fund bringing in 750 million, and the Cocoa Board syndicated loan bringing in 1.3 billion. The two together should make available to us enough foreign currency to beat the rate down, because setting the rate is an interplay between supply and demand. And so the higher the demand not able to meet the supply, then the higher the rate will go.
Now, let me ask you this one. I mean, that will be my final question to you before I come back to the studio. But if the supply is coming in, but the monies or the dollars are not staying at the banks where we can trade officially and know the quantum and the amount of dollars we have in the system, but it's staying on the black market, how are we still able to control it and bring it back to the 7 or the 8 or the 6 that you are projecting? And the fact that there is story even making rounds that there are people from other countries exchanging money and taking the dollars out of the country through the borders. Right, okay, so I understand that we have lost Nana online, but let me now come back to you. Nana believes that we can come back to the 7 and the 8 and all of the issues surrounding the dollar. From the banking perspective, the dollars don't stay with you, the bankers. How are we able to control it? Mike.
Sorry, that's a tough one.
Right.
But I believe this is where the role of the forex players come in. Not only the forex bureaus, but also the black markets. I think, I'm not sure if it was you, but reference is made right at the airport. I mean, when you land, there are people right on the perimeter of the airport that are willing to change money to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is checking them, who is monitoring and calling them to account. And so that's a tough one. And I dare say that we do have a significant sum of foreign exchange that is changing hands that's not covered in the black market. And it may be the reason why our CD also tends to fluctuate the way it does. And what gives the support, what gives the room for the forex, for the black market to thrive is what we need to look at. And I think we have a lot of laxity. You were making reference to Kenya, South Africa as well. It's so cumbersome trying to convert your foreign currency. Even right here in Togo, a number of them will not accept foreign currency when you give it to them because it's too cumbersome to convert that foreign currency into their local currency. So when you pull out a CD or a dollar, they will tell you, no, I want my safe or I want my rand or the like. So we probably have to look at that. And we have a huge taste for foreign stuff, including foreign currency. and so that's where I believe we need to begin to look at addressing the issue. The moral suasion measures that the MPC came out with, it's something that could help address the issue, because annually we have these foreign-owned institutions repatriating their earnings. And of course, it's their right, profit they've generated here. But if we have policies like, I think in the course of the past week, is it Ethiopia Airlines or one of the airlines is leaving Nigeria because they will not be able to
Repatriate their money.
Yes, but we seem to have policies that so favor sometimes foreign-owned enterprises at the expense of the locally indigenous ones. And so I think that is where we also have to look at the, should I say, the concessions that we give these institutions to sort of bait them to set up here. If we could extend the same incentives to indigenous companies, that would go a long way. He made reference to markets. And I believe that we do have some locally produced products that don't find their way easily to the market. And so if GUTA can come up, I like the fact that you're engaging the government to see what they can support you with when it comes to, should I say, commerce solutions that provide a B2B platform. And some of the industry players are also sitting out there and wishing, myself, that because you're already very experienced in trading, what can you come up with that will create an indomitable commerce platform with the logistical support to ensure that we find markets for locally produced products. I'm aware that we are, for example, importing eggs into the country. And I'm also aware that we have...
Toothpick.
Yes.
Toothpick we're importing.
And we do have farmers in Ghana that struggle sometimes to find their eggs to the buyer. So these are problems that we need to find solution to. When Nano Tuo made reference to the foreign currency, the dollar, the CD stabilizing against the foreign currencies, I think another thing that gives us hope is the fact that we've had fairly good weather this year. And so come August, September, we are going to be harvesting. Bumper harvest is expected. I think even on the fish side, we are also hearing that God has given us a good harvest of fish. So these would all contribute to contain the situation a little bit. On the borrowing side, while the rates have gone high, it's interesting to note that when you borrow, by the time that you are repaying and you are locked in at your 34% rate as you referenced, the person that you borrowed the money from would have suffered a certain devaluation. I mean, the institutions would have suffered some devaluation. And so this is a time when it actually makes sense to pull the money and to invest them in real assets if they are generating returns for you. I think these are the thoughts that I wanted to put on the table.
Right. I have a few messages. I think I promised that I'll read at least 2 or 3 of them. But Nana, if you're online, still, let me have your final word. You were speaking and we lost you. Let me have that one before I pick my messages and then we round up.
Yes. I think I was talking about the externality in the system.
Right.
One of them, this issue of other countries or neighboring countries facing difficulties in accessing foreign currency, but then when they travel across to our country, it's so easy for them to get it. And that is why I said there's a justification for Bank of Ghana clamping down on the forest bureaus.
Right.
And said there are rules and regulations by which you should sell or buy foreign currency. But they were flouting those rules and regulations. And if they continue to do that, and the same people turn around and said, Ghana is hard, who do we blame? And, recall during Kutu Champon's time, he said, Ghana for Moseminye, that sort of thing. So I think the Ghanaians should also try to help ourselves here.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me pick up two messages, and then someone says, Nana Abiam says, in my candid view, Bank of Ghana should cease giving out foreign currency to private dealers and strategically assign banks to handle foreign monies. This, I believe, would curtail the interference of black marketing. Also, is a perspective of travelers to various countries should travel in that country's currency. Someone says the government should reduce taxes on imports on certain goods and also ban foodstuffs into the country, but use those monies to plant internally. Hi, quite appreciate all contributions aimed at finding solutions. Why importers not importing with currency of country of origin? This will offload the pressure on the dollar. This one says there are insiders at the banks who directly deal with the black marketers who create art. This was a question I was going to put to you, but unfortunately, our time is up. We'll have a special one with you, and then we'll ask this specific question. It says, who creates artificial shortage of the dollar? Then buyers are compelled to mention any amount they want to buy in the name of cruciality. What does Guta hope to achieve with this demonstration? We all know the reasons for this situation, and we expect a solution in a week. How is that possible? Guta should be patient. Kwesi in Accra sent in that one. Too many messages coming in. Unfortunately, I have to
push in something.
Yeah.
Look, there's
30
this.
seconds.
Yes,
Unfortunately, our
the
time
thing
is
is
up.
that there's this other policy, and government should consider it.
Right.
Making malls retaining at least 30% of locally produced items on their shelf line.
Thank
It's
you.
a very strong point, and I don't see why they are not even pushing it.
I'm sure we'll come back for this discussions again. So Benjamin Yeboah is the Director of Welfare for Guta, and Doris Ahiati is a fellow Chartered Institute of Bankers. I believe she's a lecturer as well. I think so, yes, of course. That's very obvious. And Nana Utue Champon is a banking consultant and usually sits with the MPC as well. My name is Kwesi Free. I was your host for the evening. Thank you very much for watching and sending in your text messages. Good night.